Welcome to the PIR Speed Tour at Portland International Raceway, featuring race 6 of the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli Western Championship and the Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series. Ken Sutherland,
hey.
We get to the part of the season where now you have to start considering championships.
I know.
So is your approach to racing, we've had, what, 2 months off, so now does your approach to these races, does it change with you being, I think you're tied for first in the championship points, is that true?
Yeah, it is true, yeah. I'm shocked as everyone else probably, just by virtue of finishes. We haven't had a win yet this year. Hopefully that'll happen today.
Is there anybody in this field that has more laps around Portland International Raceway than you?
I don't think so. Not even close. But
you got a little home field advantage.
Yeah, I'd like that to equate to something. We'll see if it does. So we'll have to see.
Do you feel extra pressure with this race, kind of your hometown race?
You know, no. You know, something about age. You know, another year older and slower, and we can see where my car's at, where by comparison where it used to be. It's right over there, but I'm still here. We're still out there. I'm kind of a grinder anyway, so you know, we'll just go out there and go to work.
Look at this, Caleb Schrader. You got your whole fan club here.
That's right.
And how does that feel? And now, you know, last time you were with us at your first race in TA2, but now you're in the actual Caleb Schrader car. How's that feel?
It feels great. It's a brand new car. Hopefully we can get a nice, good result and just keep it clean in turn 1.
Look at that fueling up. How is that going?
We're gonna get a little sugar bomb.
Tell me a little bit about the strawberry shortcake they provide every year at Portland.
It's pretty good stuff.
Get a little sugar bump before the race. Yes, we'll be asleep by lap 10 maybe. And
Don't snort it.
Okay, all right.
Well, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Live stream, but if you just go to
Just doing a video. You're on the video right now.
Oh yeah, you're on TV.
You're gonna be on the YouTube video.
You're on TV, buddy.
Where are you going?
You're on TV.
Yeah, get back on TV. Oh my gosh, Tim, what's the deal with that?
Good timing.
Who are you talking to right now, Tim?
It's my son Sterling and mother-in-law Rose.
Okay. Hey, Sterling.
Say hello. Wave to the camera.
Say small for the camera. Wave hi.
So Troy Ermish, been a crazy weekend for you.
Yeah, it has.
This is the start of the first race at Portland, and how you feeling?
Feeling a little better than I did 2 days ago. I came down with a little bout of sick poison, or I think food poisoning. Not sure, but I was pretty taxed out. I wasn't even going to show up, but I pulled through, and we're here and having a pretty good weekend so far.
Race director Tim Richter is in race control as the cars follow the pace car.
Copy, pace car lights are out, double yellows dropped all around, 45 miles an hour. This will be a split start, 2 separate greens.
21 cars follow the pace car around. This is going to be a split start with these 3 XGT cars you see up here ahead. Note, Barry Bowes, one of our faster drivers, is starting from the back. Broke a control arm in qualifying, so put 4 new tires on and is starting from the back is Barry Bowes and his ASIO Data TRB Autosport Ford Mustang. You can see here John Moore coming around in that red number 5 to take the green. We're on board with Michelle Nagai. A long run to the green flag. There's the green. So this is the split start of the XGT. And then here come the Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series cars, plus our SGT and TA car as they come under the bridge to take the green flag. I like these late greens from our starter here. And there is a late green, another late green from our starter, and Tim Barber gets off to a great start as you see David Hampton jumping out. Riding on board right now with Troy Ermish. Troy Ermish, the 510 parts outlet Ermish Ranch Ford Mustang. Troy's been struggling with his health the last couple days. Actually had to go to the hospital 2 or 3 days ago because of food poisoning. So watch out, it is a little bit hot here. Not as hot as it has been, but watch for Troy. Currently basically 4th in points because our top 2 are both tied in points. And now we ride aboard with Kyle Kelly who is tied for second in points with Michael LaPaglia at 408 points. I like this new view from Kyle Kelly. This camera is actually attached to his helmet. You can really see how his hands are working inside the car as they come down into turn 10, the Cube 3 Architecture TA2. So Tim Barber, Tim Carroll, Ken Sutherland, Michael LaPaglia, that's our top four. Tim Barber really stretching out here. Then behind LaPaglia there is Caleb Schrader, second time in the series. New livery on Caleb Schrader. The Consumus Healthcare Chevrolet Camaro. Speaking of healthcare, this weekend we've had on-site hydration IVs provided by Peak Wellness Northwest and Dawn, who is a registered nurse, so thank you so much for bringing that on board. And like we're talking about, Barry Bowes starting from the back with that ASIO Data TRB Autosport Ford Mustang has already moved up a little bit. Expect him to move up through this field. He's following J.C. Monet and Jim Guthrie. Now here is our leaders in XGT. That's John Moore, JM Environmental Inc., Central Welding Supply Ford Mustang, and then Michelle Nagai, and then Chris Evans. And that Central Welding Supply on board with Chris Evans and his XGT. Listen to these calls. LaPaglia and Tim Lynn, the Roof Options number 71, currently tied for first in the Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series Western Championship. Tied for first with that man right there, Ken Sutherland, both at 425 points. We spoke to Ken earlier. This is his home track, so look for him to do really well here as we ride back on board with Kyle Kelly. Let's have a listen. Caleb Schrader with Dig Motorsports, now 2 cars in the field, but talking to Dig before the races, they are going to get more cars. They want to be the Western Championship Rental Series, Arrive and Drive Series. So look at DIG Motorsports for more information on that. But Caleb Schrader getting really fast through here. And now check this out. We are on board, currently tied for second with Kyle Kelly at 408 points. Michael LaPaglia, watch this to the right. There's a camera up there looking at the suspension. I believe it was Robert Papini that put that camera on for us, so thank you for that. So Robert and I have been playing around. Look at the sparks coming right at the camera. Been playing around with a camera position, and Robert thinks he's got it figured out. You can really see the suspension moving on that, so thank you so much. But right now, I believe currently fourth in this race is Michael LaPaglia, Papini's Garage. That Fast Auto Howe chassis of Michael LaPaglia getting really fast. You can see how much that front suspension is working as Caleb Schrader right behind him. Down into this long into turn 10, there is Tim Barber really stretching out that lead. Then Tim Carroll, Ken Sutherland. That's our top 3. This is the battle. Ken Sutherland, Michael LaPaglia, and that 31 back on board with Michael LaPaglia. Coming down this long straightaway that's actually a drag raceway as well. They do drag racing here on Wednesdays. As the cars come in through the new Shelton chicane, turns 1, 2, and 3 basically at Portland International Raceway. We ride back on board with Barry Bowes now around J.C. Monet following Jim Guthrie. Like I said, Barry Bowes did have to start in the back broke a control arm in qualifying, didn't get a good time, so they're like, well, we might as well just put all new tires on to start from the back and work our way through the field. You see John Moore there in that red number 5. His son Cole Moore is also with us as we ride on board Michelle Nagai. Cole Moore is in a TA2 car, doing really well. But now look at Michelle Nagai, currently our points leader with 425 points in the XGT. And Tim Rankin second in points, but not here this weekend. There's Tim Carroll, Ken Sutherland. Right on board with Ken Sutherland, the Kahlberg Racing car. Kahlberg Racing Wyatt Fire car of Ken Sutherland. This is his home track. He was just here in Spec Miatas at the Rose Cup just a few weeks ago. So really fast. And you can see Michael LaPaglia kind of locking up the brakes there. Caleb Schrader right behind him in that beautiful DIG Motorsports Camaro, ready to pounce. Now on board Kyle Kelly, right behind Caleb Schrader, getting a good, there's lots of different ways you could take that turn. Turn 7, gets right up beside, takes the faster way around Caleb Schrader. Now it's a drag race. Can Kyle Kelly get around Caleb Schrader, who is just to his left? You can see in that mirror right there. Caleb Schrader getting a little bit better drive. Who's going to outbrake Kyle Kelly later on the brakes? Caleb Schrader wisely lives to fight another day. Lots of people get that entrance there wrong into this last carousel, but now Kyle Kelly moving up a position. Looking on board Michael LaPaglia to the rear, looking right at Kyle Kelly. Both cars look pretty planted. Going about 125 there, but looks like they're barely moving. LaPaglia smoking his rear tires again with brakes. Hopefully that doesn't become an issue through this race at Portland International Raceway. They come into turn 4, 4A, and then turn 5. Very difficult section here as we ride on board Caleb Schrader. Now watch, there are different ways to take turn 7. See how it goes so wide there at the left, and you can set yourself up. So there's basically a faster line through turn 7, and there's a defensive line through turn 7. And LaPaglia was taking the defensive line, trying to keep Kyle from not only being able to pass on the inside, but also building up a head of steam into turn 9, turn 8 and 9. So Tim Carroll, Tim Barber, still about the same gap. There's Caleb Schrader in that Consonus Healthcare Chevy Camaro. So happy to have them here. Tim Carroll, Ken Sutherland, getting a gap on LaPaglia, Kelly, Schrader, and then there was Cole Moore in that number 5-4, and then Barry Bowes just slowly clicking cars off. So there's Cole Moore in the white car, then Troy Ormish, Tim Lynn, Rudy Rivak in that singular car, and then Tim Brown, Brown Brothers Autos in that beautiful SGT Ford Mustang, followed by David Hampton. Back on board with Kyle Kelly. Coming into turn 7, you can really see the wheels, his hands just fighting that wheel. These are standard 8 shift patterns as well on these transmissions. So Tim Barber, Tim Carroll, Ken Sutherland, long stretch to 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, 6. The cars are right on top of each other. Ooh, Caleb Schrader getting it a little bit. We were just talking about the entrance of that. Can he keep it off the wall? Comes around somehow, keeps it off the wall. Does Caleb Schrader? What a recovery there at Portland International, and then just gets right back on with Jim Guthrie. As we see, oh no, J.C. Monet coming into the pits. Oh, that's not good. J.C. Monet with that killer shrimp car. And Tim Lynn going off there. So Tim Lynn in that Roof Options Ford Mustang. And there's Tim Brown, Brown Brothers Ford Lincoln. On board right now with David Hampton. AR Motorsports Porsche Cayman GT4 RS Club Sport. Also with Hampton Lumber out of Bend, Oregon, making that pass there on Rudy Revac. And now this is quite a battle in our SGT. Here's our top three in SGT right here. And somebody goes off a little bit there in front of him. I believe that's Tim Lynn. I'm hearing reports that Tim Lynn restarting there has started a fire. It has been pretty dry here in Portland. So they're taking care of that fire, of the grass fire. But again, you can see Michael LaPaglia, a little bit of smoke. As we look now at Colmore and the neat Clower JM Environmental Inc. Ford Mustang. John Moore's son, Colmore, going into turn one. Going in hot. So far, we've all been really impressed with Colmore. First time in TA2, so welcome aboard. On board again with Kyle Kelly. Downshifting into third. Now Michael LaPaglia starting to gap Kyle Kelly. Trying to chase down Ken Sutherland, which will be a tall order. This is Ken's, seeing a local yellow there. This is Ken's home track, local yellow. Oh, for the fire and rescue that's out there putting out a fire at turn 11. So still now Tim Barber to Tim Carroll, just kind of maintaining that gap. And looks like Papini's Garage, Michael LaPaglia making a comeback. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen, Barry Bowes moving his way through the field. He's really liking this car right now that TRB and Troy and his group have set up with the Osseo Data TRB Autosport Ford Mustang. That is Sean Berardi at Petaluma, California, new to the series, so welcome with Berardi Motorsports. And there is our leader in XGT in the black car right behind Rudy Revac. So Chris Evans over Michelle Nagai, over John Moore. So something has happened there in the XGT class as we ride on board with John Moore with JM Environmental Inc. and Central Welding Supply. So Chris Evans around Rudy, then Michelle Nagai, but I'm seeing some smoke coming out of the rear end of Michelle Nagai's car. And there's our leaders in Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series. There's 4. Kyle Kelly smoking them in 5th. Then Cole Moore already up to 6th, and Barry Bowes to 7th. He's got some grass on his grill. Troy Ermish 8th. Caleb Schrader dropped back to 9th for going off there early on. See if Caleb Schrader can pull it together, have a good finish. Caleb Schrader very fast in these TA2 cars. Lots of experience in the spec racing in the SCCA series. So he's good with momentum cars, and anytime a momentum driver gets behind the wheel of a TA2 car, they are fast. On board with Kyle Kelly, PK&K Properties, UpRacing.com Ford Mustang. See Michael LaPaglia there. So here's the gaps. Tim Carroll able to really close that gap in on Tim Barber. Tim Carroll, the CRDMFG.com Chevrolet Camaro PDIDiesel.com. So we ride on board. He is the only M1 car in the field, I believe, Tim Carroll. And then Michael LaPaglia starting to close that gap on Ken Sutherland. But look at this, Barry Bowes Coming up behind, Cole Moore. And then Caleb Schrader closing the gap on Troy Ermish. We ride on board with Troy Ermish. Looking at Caleb Schrader in his rear camera. Caleb Schrader kind of planted here as we hear him downshift into third gear. Tim Carroll now right behind Tim Barber. This is going to be interesting. Mustang versus Camaro. Let's see what Tim Barber can do. Tim Barber, just one of those very calculated engineering drivers that tries to win the race as slow as he can. Easy on the equipment. LaPaglia and then Kyle Kelly. But here it is. This is the race for the lead in the TA2 Cube 3 Architecture TA2 Series. Caleb Schrader around Troy Ermish. Can he hold it? A little bit later on the brakes. Can he hold on to it there? Caleb Schrader now on board with Ermish. Looking right at Caleb Schrader. Troy Ermish still, like we talked about at the beginning of the race, not 100%. Had a lot of food poisoning. Had to go to the hospital. Didn't know if he'd make it here. So we'll be monitoring that as John Moore in XGT trying to make it around David Hampton with Michelle Nagai right behind him. Michelle Nagai leading in the points in XGT. Can she get around Hampton before turn one? She does just that. That was a close one. Hampton can outbrake just about anybody in the field with those Porsche brakes. But there's Tim Barber followed by Tim Carroll. This gap was a lot larger just a few laps ago as we ride on board with Tim Barber. Dig Motorsports. Ford Mustang. Tim Barber with 404 points. Doing really well in the series. He's technically third in points, but really fifth. There's 4 cars ahead of him, but the top 2, 1 and 2, are both tied. But he's right there in the hunt. Needs a good finish here today is Tim Barber. Tim Carroll right behind, really planting that Camaro nose right under the rear end of Tim Barber. Right now it looks like Tim Carroll has the fastest car in the field. You can see there getting a little bit hot in the brakes, but doing that, that's the faster line if you don't lock up the brakes there. Tim Carroll, Tim Barber giving us the defensive line. So that's where a lot of people make the setup to make a pass between 8 and 9. They take that faster line through 7. Close the apex of 7 like that. So Tim Carroll right behind Tim Barber. Tim Carroll on the CRDMFG.com. Chevrolet Camaro, Team M1, SLR, Camaro. You can see the telemetry down there in the bottom right. You can see the low, you can see the throttle, the brake input. You get a lot of information here from these V-Box units. Woo! Locked him up again. Didn't want to punt Tim Barber at 7. That happens quite a bit. But that's going to cost him some time. As they come down this long back straight into turn 10. And this 10, 11, 12 really throws the cars off balance. We have a lot of drivers that can really get it wrong there. Michael LaPaglia still struggling with that right rear end brake. And Kyle Kelly coming through smooth. So here's the gaps. Tim Barber, Tim Carroll right behind him. Ooh, oh, Tim Carroll goes too deep. Oh no, that's gonna throw him Now he's got to come to a stop. You can see that stop sign there. The guy holding out the lollipop. He's going to lose a ton of positions as we see Tim Barber, Ken Sutherland, Michael LaPaglia go through. So that's Tim Carroll a little bit too late on the brakes, but trying to make a pass. Now drops back to 4th place with Kyle Kelly right behind him. Unfortunate for Tim Carroll. He's looking fast. Every weekend he seems to get faster and faster. There's Michael LaPaglia, the Pepini's Garage, but also the North County Sand and Gravel of Murrieta, California, with Michael LaPaglia this weekend at Portland. So welcome to the new sponsors, North County Sand and Gravel of Murrieta, California. So this is going to be crazy because that's basically a stock car that Rudy Rivak is in that SGT. So it's going to have nearly the same performance as a TA2 car. Now Rudy just has a spoiler where Tim Barber has that rear wing, but you can see him kind of out dragging him. So this is going to be a tough car to pass unless Rudy lets him by. So what that's doing now is giving Ken Sutherland right behind Tim Barber. You can see that in that Camaro because Tim is struggling to get around Rudy. Now can he set a pick? Looks like Ken Sutherland's going to get around him as maybe Michael LaPaglia. Yes, Michael LaPaglia. So that really hurt Tim Barber. Not being able to get him around him at 1 has really closed up the gap between 2nd and 3rd as we ride on board with Ken Sutherland. Ken Sutherland and Colbert Racing. You can see he's taking a little bit different line around 7 to try to set him up. You can take that way out to the left, hit that apex, and get on the throttle a lot sooner than the driver Tim Barber taking that defensive line. So look for that to come into play today. It comes into almost every race here at Portland as we look back from Tim Barber at Ken Sutherland. Now who can get to the gas pedal sooner here coming off of that last turn carousel of turn 12? You can see kind of snaking around, trying to keep Ken Sutherland out of his draft. Then you're hard on the brakes into turn 1. But already I can see Tim Carroll in 4th making headway again. So he went a little bit risky, it didn't pay off. We're going to see what happens to him later on because I believe Tim Carroll, currently 4th, has the fastest car on track in the TA2 series. But Ken Sutherland right behind Barber. Back on board with Michael LaPaglia, currently 3rd in TA2 at North County Sand and Gravel of Murrieta, California, Pepini's Garage, Fast Auto Howe chassis. So we've got Ford, Chevy, Ford, in our top 5 in the Cube 3 Architecture TA2 series. LaPaglia a little bit later on the brakes. You can go across that curbing around here to turn 2 through the Shelton chicane. Oh no! Michelle Nagai in. We were seeing smoke from that car, but she is in. Hopefully they can fix it and get her back out there. We ride on board with Ken Sutherland. Ken Sutherland's daughter Emma is here taking photos, and Emma, you're gonna have to help me out on this camera placement next event. It's a little bit too high up. You can't really see out the windshield. But she is a really good photographer, taking photos here, was taking photos at the Rose Cup a few weekends ago. A lot of our Trans Am drivers use her for the photos. And then Michael LaPaglia right there through that smoke screen behind Ken Sutherland. And then Tim Carroll right behind LaPaglia. So this is a crazy top 4 here in our Q3 Architecture TA2 series. into third. Hard on the brakes. You can see in the rearview mirror, just watching Tim Carroll, the car just seems to be a little bit more planted, a little bit smoother than these other 3 cars up front. So he may have the faster car, but that, look at this, 2, 3 totally different lines going into 7. So many different ways to take turn 7. There's the defensive line, the fast line, the faster line, and then the send it line. I don't recommend the send it line, but sometimes late in the race, the Hail Marys just have to come into play. So we go Tim Barber in first, Ken Sutherland, Michael LaPaglia, and Tim Carroll. This top 4 is just crazy in the TA2 series. Not sure what's happened to Kyle Kelly. We right on board with our leader, Tim Barber, trying to knock Ken Sutherland out of the draft. But that's kind of bringing LaPaglia and Tim Carroll right there. So I would say right now, Tim Barber doesn't seem to have the fastest car, even though he's out front. But he's real good at keeping that car out front. Uh-oh, seeing some smoke out of John Moore in that red 5. JM Environmental Inc., Central Welding Supply. Currently second in XGT behind Chris Evans. Going real deep into turn 1. Gets over, but then puts his wheels on the curb, so he's legal. But something is going on in the rear end of John Moore's car. Top 4, Kyle Kelly has somehow fallen back. So Tim Barber, Ken Sutherland, Michael LaPaglia, Tim Carroll. That's our top 4 with Kyle Kelly still within sight, but falling back as you see Misty Richter there at pit out. On board. So it doesn't seem like LaPaglia has the high-end drive, but can outbrake these other 2. Looks like they're a little bit faster in the top gear, but he may be able to outbrake and outmaneuver these 2 front 2, and Tim Carroll seems to have the setup of the day as we ride on board with Tim Barber. Look at that, Ken Sutherland just getting right behind him. But look at that smoke screen that John Moore is throwing up coming into turn 10. Something mechanical is happening to the rear end of that car. Now Ken Sutherland taking that faster line of Tim Barber, seeing if he can get the drive out of turn 7 into 8. Now it looks like that Mustang of LaPaglia has the setup. So again, the top 4. Michael LaPaglia's best lap is a 1:16.2. Oh, look at this, going deep into with Ken Sutherland. Ken Sutherland has the advantage. Can he hold it? No, he has to give it over, but now that puts Tim Carroll right behind LaPaglia through turn 2, through turn 3. But really, both drivers going in deep. Ken Sutherland knowing he had the advantage with a right-hander being on the right side. So look for LaPaglia, though. Sometimes they're just doing this as chess moves as that smoke screen gets a little bit thicker on John Moore. I believe I'm hearing from race control that he has to come in. He has been black flagged because of the smoke, trying not to drop oil. So there he is, coming in. You can see Michelle Nagai has retired from the race. Kyle Kelly getting a little bit closer, and then Barry Bowes all the way up to 6th. So Barry Bowes really probably has the fastest car on track, hoping for a double yellow so that he can start back up in that top 6. So you can see Tim Carroll has a little bit more in the top gear than LaPaglia, but LaPaglia deeper on the brakes. On clear days, you can see Mount Hood from that camera view. You could see sometimes Mount St. Helens, but with all the fires that are happening here this weekend, the visibility is not superb. You can hear him getting on the limiter from that short chute between 6 and 7. So there goes Berardi, then Hampton, and now here's our leaders coming into 10. Kyle Kelly closing the gap. Tim Carroll getting a real good drive out of 12. Now it's a drag race. Side drafting Michael LaPaglia. Now who's going to be later on the brakes? LaPaglia's got to give this to him, doesn't he? I'm not sure. Tim Carroll's hard on the brakes, and there we go. Now Tim Carroll up to 3rd. I think that was a points decision by LaPaglia. He knows he's got to finish this race. He came into the season really expecting to dominate the championship and has just had some bad mechanical luck. First 2 races, he finished 1st and 2nd. He was right on track. But he broke at Sonoma and he had a battery issue at Laguna Seca, so he's fallen back. He really needs some good finishes here, but this is going to be crazy. So you've got Barber with Hampton. So he should be able to take Hampton there in that SGT Porsche. But he was really hoping to set a pick between he and Sutherland that did not quite work out. It's all about where you catch in this mixed group racing, where you catch that lap traffic. So now Hampton's a pick for Carroll. Oh, you can see some dirt on the back of Kyle Kelly's car. So Kyle Kelly might be leaking something out of the back. On board with Ken Sutherland. This is his home track. He just won the Rose Cup here, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And he knows how to drive this track with momentum. A very competitive Miata racer here for years, so he knows all the tricks and turns here. As he gets right up behind Barber, and you can see Sean Berardi Mechanical right ahead of them. Sean Berardi first weekend doing really well. His dad is racing in a Paul Menard stock car this weekend, so it's cool to see them out. But Sean doing really well in his first outing. And look at that, he gets right over, knowing what's happening behind him. We appreciate that, Sean. Welcome to the series. So we've got a train coming into turn 1. On board with our leader, Tim Barber, trying to navigate around that number 9. And the number 9 of Sean is allowed to race. He is allowed to fight to stay on that lead lap. So he is doing the right thing. He's giving them room, but still has the right to fight for his position. Doing a good job, Sean Berardi. Now on board, Tim Barber, as Ken Sutherland gets right up behind him. Look at that. Another coat of paint they may have touched. This GoPro on Tim Barber's rear bumper is just hanging there. So that's that's hanging there maybe 3-4 inches from the bumper. That's how close they were. Tim Barber, though, still looking smooth. But I think Tim Carroll is currently in the fastest car in the field. 130, 137, 140, 140, almost 160 miles an hour going into turn 1. But Kyle Kelly able to kind of close that gap, fighting in that top 5. Back on board with Tim Barber. Looking back at Ken Sutherland. Ken Sutherland able to get on the throttle maybe a little bit sooner, but it's how do you carry speed through the apex of turn 7 that sets you up all the way down into turn 10. But I'm sure with that big mirror right in front of him, I'm sure he can see Tim Carroll coming. Tim Barber just doing a really good job of kind of holding up the field. He's not the fastest car out there, but right now he is the fastest driver. On board with Kyle Kelly. So now that is the L'Intimidator, current points leader out front. Also fighting to stay on the lead lap. So look for him, Tim L'Intimidator, the roof options. Ford Mustang. Look at all the different lines through 7. Everybody, there's 3 different lines right there in our top 3. LaPaglia falling back a little bit. There's Tim Lynn. Then Tim Barber. Ooh, Tim Carroll getting right up next to Ken Sutherland. That's a little bit scary, but he took the faster line like we were talking about at turn 7 that set him up just a little bit going into turn 10. And that's how you pass. You can see a debris flag there at turn 1. Some fantastic corner workers here with the Cascade Club of the SCCA. And there is our leader, Chris Evans, coming through, overall race leader. Chris Evans making his way back through, which so now he's got to work his way through this lead TA2 traffic. That's going to be difficult. Right on board with Michael LaPaglia, Papini's Garage, North County Sand and Gravel of Murrieta, California. Welcome aboard. Look at the different lines again. Now, Michael LaPaglia side by side with Tim Carroll. What's going to happen here? Looks like, a little touch, and Kyle Kelly taking advantage of that, going around 2 for 1 for Kyle Kelly. I think LaPaglia and Tim Carroll touched. Hopefully, just a little. Honestly, there you ask for metal to metal because you don't want these splitters to touch the tires. These Pirelli P0s are great tires, but they can get touched by the carbon fiber, and they can get cut by the carbon fiber of these front splitters. So not sure what happened there as we see Tim Barber right behind Tim Lynn. Tim Lynn has the right to fight for his position to stay on that lead lap. No blue flags. Barber's not going to like that as Ken Sutherland gets. Oh, that's contact. Look at, you can see the camera roll off. That's a camera rolling off into the grass there, and that's exactly what happened there. Tim Carroll has cut a tire, sorry. And that stinks. Tim Carroll, I think he had the fastest car in the field, but just got side by side with LaPaglia. Not sure, but I think he cut a tire. Unfortunate for Tim Carroll. That's going to take him out. He's going to need a double yellow. I'm not sure the crew can change that tire and keep him on the lead lap. As we ride on board with Ken Sutherland, who did hit Tim Barber, but Tim Barber able to keep it on the track. You could see knock the GoPro just clean off the rear bumper. The GoPro is still working. I can see it still working in my screen somewhere in the grass. Michael LaPaglia right behind Kyle Kelly. Outbraking Kyle Kelly, who was able to take advantage of that side-by-side contact. Doesn't seem to be slowing down LaPaglia as they get right side by side there with Tim Lynn. So how do they get around Tim Lynn? Tim Barber wants to get around him and then try to set a pick. If Tim Barber can get around, oh, that's contact again. Kyle Kelly and Michael LaPaglia now returns the favor. I don't think either of that contact was on purpose, but Kyle Kelly into LaPaglia and LaPaglia into Kyle Kelly. So that brings Cole Moore right behind Michael LaPaglia. And I think Barry Bowes was able to get around everybody. So this worked out perfectly for Barry Bowes. So a twofer for Barry Bowes. So there it is. Tim Barber, then Ken Sutherland, Tim Lynn, and there is Barry Bowes up to third if he can hold it. Yeah, Barry Bowes third, Kyle Kelly fourth, and there's Chris Evans, our overall leader. But then this brings Cole Moore right into the race with Caleb Schrader right back in it too. So now a 6 to 7 person race in TA2 as Chris Evans gets around Kyle Kelly. You can see the blue flags notifying these drivers who are fighting for the TA2 that the overall race leader is behind them. On board with Caleb Schrader. So somewhere that GoPro is in the grass, just recording the race from the grass. Oh, Cole Moore going off a little bit, maybe looking in his mirrors a little bit. And that allows Caleb Schrader to get by. Caleb Schrader currently in 6th position. So here's your 1 and 2. Then the third car in this shot is a lap down. That's Tim Lynn, who went off and started that fire in the grass. Tim Lynn, complaining earlier, is missing his setup a little bit here at Portland. So Barry Bowes, who started last, is now in third. Michael LaPaglia trying to do this again on Kyle Kelly. They're just going back and forth at each other. Michael LaPaglia currently fourth, going around turn 3 into turn 4. Now that car ahead of Barry Bowes is the XGT, Central Welding Supply of Chris Evans. So that car should just disappear out in front of him. He's not worried about that car. If he can get behind that and draft it as much as he can, that'll help him out. But we're back on board. Ken Sutherland doesn't seem to have done any damage to the back of Tim Barber, but that will rattle Barber. You can see the damage on Ken Sutherland's car, so it's done damage to Sutherland, but doesn't seem to have done anything to Tim Barber. So this is third, Barry Bowes, and then we ride on board with 4th place, Michael LaPaglia. Back on board, Ken Sutherland behind Tim Barber. This has got to be so frustrating for Ken Sutherland because he is the faster car, but Tim Barber is just doing a really good job of putting his car in positions where Ken just can't make the pass. That's how equally yoked they are. So he comes out, takes that faster line. This sets him up for turns 8 and 9. So you can see he gets up side by side, maybe able to hold it here, able to get through faster, but can he hold on? Tim Barber is set up for the next corner, turn 10, which is a left-hander. Who can outbrake? Ken Sutherland kind of falling back, and yeah, just Tim Barber able to take it. But Ken Sutherland, chess player, is going to make notes of that and know that if he can set himself up like that at one of these, Tim Barber's going to have to let him around. That has got to be so frustrating for Ken Sutherland. Kahlberg Racing with Wyatt Fire. Welcome Wyatt Fire to Kahlberg Racing. So there is Chris Evans now coming up to lap in his XGT car. The two front-running cars, they're not going to be used to that. So Chris Evans is going to have to pick his place wisely as we see LaPaglia coming up on Barry Bowes. Hopefully Barry Bowes moving from 21st basically to 3rd. Didn't burn up his tires, but look, Ken Sutherland trying it again. Little bit quicker line through there, gets up side by side, but I think he was further along last time. But it's a drag race to 10. And trying it again is Ken Sutherland going into 10. Going in hot. Oh no, he's lost it. Going in a little bit too hot into 10. Got to move around a little bit, but look at that. He's got grass on the grill now. That is not good. That could cause overheating, and now Chris Evans is between Ken Sutherland and Tim Barber. That worked out perfectly for Tim Barber. I don't know how Tim was able to hold on to it as we go into 150 here. Tim did a really good job of holding it into turn 10 and 11, just knowing that that could happen to Ken Sutherland. Ken Sutherland taking those risks. So can Ken move back up to Tim Barber? On board with Barry Bowes, the ICO Data TRB Autosport Ford Mustang. With LaPaglia right behind, but Caleb Schrader now moving up right behind LaPaglia. So now what Ken Sutherland is trying to do is just, he knows this track, is hit his marks. Try to, eke out a 10th or 2/10 every lap on Tim Barber to work his way back through there. So it's Tim Barber, then Chris Evans. Chris Evans is our overall leader and winning an XGT. So he's going to try to get around Barber here. He's got the power to get around Barber into turn 1 to not interrupt Barber too much. And Barber would be smart to pull up right behind Evans. Try to use that draft as much as he can. So if Evans was able to get around Barber, it should be smooth sailing for Barber. Yes, he was. So wisely, Barber let Evans around, now can kind of suck up behind him and try to increase this gap on Ken Sutherland. This is not Tim Barber's race. Tim Barber is leading his race. That's the overall leader, putting Tim Barber just one lap behind. On board with Caleb Schrader. Getting a little squirrely there into 7. There's our leader, Chris Evans. Here's our leader at TA2, Tim Barber. Ken Sutherland, Barry Bowes, Michael LaPaglia, Caleb Schrader, and then Kyle Kelly. On board with Barry Bowes. From 2nd to 3rd. 3rd to 4th. It's so hard to go from your top gear down to the slowest part of the track. Really throws the cars off balance. can hear LaPaglia hitting that limiter there between 3 and 4, and then here between 6 and 7. I'm hearing that in my ears. You hearing him hit the limiter? Let's hear if he does it here, from here to 7. Yeah, just trying to hit that limiter. I think he's staying in 3rd gear there. Tim Brown. Then Chris Evans. And here is our top 5 in one camera shot. Riding on board with Ken Sutherland. Ken Sutherland's wife right over there on pit wall waving to him with Mr. Kahlberg, telling him to go get him. Ken going much quicker line. Tim Barber missed the apex there at turn 1. Ken Sutherland able to kind of get up behind him. But Tim Barber is just in maintain race mode. Just keep driving as he is. Hit his marks. Not let anybody by. Don't make any mistakes. That's Tim Barber up ahead in that 33. Ken Sutherland, oh, that's a knock. Ken Sutherland hit Tim Barber, knocking both of them out through turn 7. Now it's Michael LaPaglia behind our leader in TA2. It's Barry Bowes, who started from the back. But that was contact, Tim Richter. Not sure what you're going to see there. What the stewards are going to call. Michael LaPaglia side by side with Barry Bowes. Barry Bowes able to close the door. But Barry Bowes now has the lead. Caleb Schrader into 3rd. Ken Sutherland able to get it going. You can see damage there on his front left. And smoke. I think Ken Sutherland has some tire rub. But now there is our leader just ahead of Michael LaPaglia as Barry Bowes looking loose going between 1 and 2. Caleb Schrader right behind him. As we get into the later portions of this race, Tim Barber cannot be happy about that. I think that was just a little bit of frustration. Ken Sutherland being the faster car, and Tim Barber just kind of able to keep the lead. Eventually, something's got to come through, but you can see here now Michael LaPaglia takes that faster line through 7. I didn't see Tim Barber there, so it looks like Tim Barber able to get back up in the mix. But that's got to be frustrating for Barber and Dig Motorsports. There's our new leader, Barry Bowes, Michael LaPaglia, Caleb Schrader, and Ken Sutherland in a long gap back. So what can Barry Bowes do here? So LaPaglia right behind Barry Bowes. You can hear him hitting his limiter there going into 4. And there's this little short chute and another apex. So hard to drive this section of the track fast. Now let's see if LaPaglia takes that wide left line to try to drag out of here. Yeah, he does. Goes wide left. Trying to get onto the gas sooner, close this gap. Because it's a long drag race down into turn 10, and they've got lap traffic up ahead of them. Not lap traffic, actually, just the SGT car of Tim Brown. Beautiful car. So Tim Brown in the factory-built Ford Mustang with 2 tube frame Ford Mustangs right behind him. Oh, and we've got a double yellow. Look at that. Double yellow this late in the race. So Michael LaPaglia didn't see the yellow, makes that pass on Barry Bowes, but that pass will not stand. We saw the yellow, so you'll see right there. Look at that. What a good racer. Michael LaPaglia saw what happened. gave the position back. But I'm hearing we have a replay of what happened here. It looks like, here it is from Tim Lynn. Oh, Tim Lynn hard into the wall. Let's hear it. Driver's okay, he's moving around. But you could hear clearly that the throttle just got stuck. So Tim Lynn doing a really good job of kind of missing Tim Barber and then making sure that the rear end of the car hit the wall first. So some good driving there by Tim Lynn. Unfortunate, I mean, it stinks because he really stuffed that car, but did a really good job of doing it to where he wasn't going to get injured and probably minimizing the damage. When the throttle gets stuck, there's really nothing you can do, and you can hear it get stuck and hit the limiter. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm hearing this is going to be a late race, double yellow. There's wall repair that has to happen. The driver is okay, but we're going to have to end on a double yellow. Pace car has been sent out. Tim Richter has said we're going to end on a double yellow. I know we hate to see that, ladies and gentlemen, but that's the result. You're seeing it right there following the pace car. Chris Evans wins XGT. Then Tim Brown right behind him is going to be our Super GT winner. So congratulations to him. And then Barry Bowes, Michael LaPaglia. So Barry Bowes' first ever win in TA2. Then Michael LaPaglia is second. Caleb Schrader third. Congratulations to him. Cole Moore, fourth place. Nice job. Tim Barber able to bring it up to fifth in TA2. Troy Ermish, Lonnie Hostetler, Kyle Kelly, Jim Guthrie, Ken Sutherland, Sean Berardi. Nice job. Then David Hampton, second in SGT. Rudy Revac, third in SGT. Then Tim Carroll, JC Monet, Tim Lynn. And Tim Lynn, unfortunately, still in the tire wall. Let's hear what the drivers have to say.
Yeah, one! Way to go, Barry Bowes! Barry Bowes!
Yeah.
Woo! Woo!
Well, take your helmet off, Barry. I want to talk to you. Because Barry Bowes had to start from the back, work his way in, and came to it today. Nice job.
Thank you. Feels fantastic. I talked to the guys at the beginning, said I'm starting from the back. I'm really lucky and I get a couple full course cautions. Maybe I could get on the podium. I had no cautions and I was able to drive it all the way to the front. I surprised myself. The guys who are out here, I mean, I've got photos. I've got a selfie of me with LaPaglia on a billboard behind me. Like, I mean, these are guys that I look up to. Ken, Tim Barber, it's an amazing day.
Nice job. Looks like you did a little dirt tracking today too, huh?
Yeah, I had to do some off-roading. Car went off or spun in front of me in the S's back here in 10, 11, 12, and so I had to take to the inside to get around them, and plenty of people bringing grass on the track all the time. Yep.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Nice job, Thank you. Michael LaPaglia, good points day for you today. And man, that was up until the last 10 laps. What a great race.
Yeah, it was hectic. Got a great start past Caleb going into one. And then just kind of had a good pace while the car was pretty heavy on fuel. Wasn't handling that great, but I was still able to manage fourth place. Tim, and Ken were kind of creeping away, but I just kind of wanted to let the race play out. It's a long race, so I just didn't want to get in a rush. And then I kind of forget what happened first, but I came together with Tim Carroll, and I just came on the inside to try to make a pass, and we bumped, and then we both kind of got squirrely, and Kyle Kelly went around both of us, and I went off in the dirt. So that was wild, and then I got wrapped back around Kyle, and we kind of all bunched up behind Tim Lynn, and then Kyle bumped into me, and I spun out, and he spun out, and we went back to sixth, and then passed my way back up to fourth, and then, Tim Barber and Ken Sutherland came together and both spun out and went around them, and that was hectic, man. It's hot, and it was a big race, so.
Well, who is this?
This is Gianna. This is my favorite daughter right here.
Did you have fun? Are you proud of your dad? Nice. Michael, nice job.
Thank you.
So Schrader,
Yes.
Second race TA2, you're on the podium. That's got to feel good.
Oh, it feels amazing. I mean, I spun out in like the first 10 laps due to oil, so I went from 4th all the way down to I think 12th, recovered all the way back.
I don't know how you didn't hit the wall. That was.
I don't know either, and I kept it going this time. Whereas Laguna installed, I couldn't get refired, but kept it going this time and managed to get third out of nowhere. So. A very amazing day. I mean, we'll get it tomorrow, but couldn't thank Dig Motorsports and Jeremy for all their help. Dan on the radio, also Davis the spotter, my parents, Gonzalez Healthcare, and everyone else involved.
Nice job. Nice job. Chris Evans! Don't try to disappear, man. Congratulations. First place at Portland. That's got to feel good.
Well, I think I was the only XGT that finished. I think the other ones had some wheel hop problems, busted rear ends.
Right behind the tower, I believe.
Still got around them all while they were running.
I think we lapped the field, actually. So that's a first for me. Just go as a testament, that's the oldest car we have, the loosest, ricketiest, the oldest, ricketiest driver. It's a testament to Jeff Jefferson and all our crew that really makes this happen. I want to thank Trans Am West for letting us have this, wonderful opportunity at this great racetrack on this great day. And Ben, for you, all the TV commentary, it's really good. I watch it on YouTube all the time. So everybody out there,
you need to get on this because they're taking you to the podium. But I'll talk to you at the podium too.
Yeah,
but congratulations. I'll meet you there, Missy.
Ready?